and welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Katie.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our podcast where we read you Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yep.
Every week.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time.
Sometimes. I don't think I have anything exciting for this week either.
Nope. Nothing new and exciting has happened.
I feel like someone needs to leave us a review so that way we have something to talk about.
Please.
Because I know there's people who actually listen to us every week. We get, on average, about 20 downloads a week.
So one of you.
Someone.
Please.
Just review us.
We'll shout you out. We'll go, hey, how you doing? Thanks so much. We love you.
Yeah.
So here is chapter 4. It's called Egg Salad and Emotions.
All right.
So
that sounds fun.
So now Harry maybe knows how to make something new.
Yeah, other than just chicken?
Maybe.
We're branching out.
We're just going to have to find out. Harry returned with picture frames and takeout. Oh, probably not. If I had just read the first line. You could have plain chicken if you want, he told Broomstick, but I thought you might be offended if I tried to eat something fancier than you.
True. Also
fact. The owl ruffled his feathers, and Harry rather thought he was correct. It's chicken saying, with as little spice as possible. Teddy likes it, so you could probably handle it. He's an owl. I mean, I'm sure they don't eat spicy, but...
Yeah.
I know birds like spicy things.
So he should be fine.
Yeah. The owl picked at the spinach and chicken dish, cautiously at first, but with growing enthusiasm, he was an exceedingly clean eater. Much, much cleaner than Teddy.
Teddy's a toddler.
So yeah, Teddy's gonna be a hot mess. And with less predilection of changing his hair color to match his food. Harry smiled. I should have Teddy over. Oh, his hair will just about match the sofa. He'll like that. That's adorable.
I like how, like his mother, he just, picked a color and went with it.
Yep. Tonk's bubblegum pink, Teddy is nice and blue.
Yep.
Broomstick hooted something Harry couldn't interpret. He ruffled his feathers and got bit for his efforts. Hey, he scolded. Eat the nice food I got for you, not my fingers. The owl glared, not at all contrite, and made a show of setting his feathers back into place. Sounds very Draco.
Mm-hmm.
Harry himself had chicken tikka masala. I was going to say mensala. Masala. Hermione rolled her eyes whenever he ordered it because it was the least adventurous thing on the menu. But Harry liked it. He wanted to learn how to cook. Sirius had said Harry's grandmother was a good cook, and Remus found some recipes he got off her. Harry had put them in the photo album Hagrid had made for him with a handful of other mementos he had of his family. And then, because it had been such a bad year, he went and started a flaming row with Ron when what he really wanted to do was yell at the Dursleys for being utter worms. Petunia must have known Harry's grandmother could cook, but all he could hear was Uncle Vernon scoffing about his father being foreign.
Didn't, Petunia make Harry do a lot of the cooking? So wouldn't he know at least, how to cook more than chicken?
Yeah, he definitely would.
Yeah.
Ay.
I could understand if she didn't, let him, bake things or make complex dishes, but...
He cooked bacon on Dudley's birthday.
Yeah, he would have at least been in charge of, making the regular everyday food of, eggs, pancakes, bacon.
Yeah, he can make at least a good breakfast spread.
Yeah. Not just toast and chicken.
Although that always was one of those things that got me in Harry Potter, is literally every morning, that's all they ever ate for breakfast, any of them, was toast.
I feel like that's a very British thing.
Yeah, but have more than toast.
I feel like it's kind of the same as us eating a bagel.
Maybe. Probably. I didn't think about it that way. A bagel is just basically just fat toast.
Yes, it's just a thicker piece of toast.
I love bagels.
They do taste slightly different, so like I understand, but at the same time, like you're basically just eating toast in the morning.
That's true.
And you get your plain bagel from Starbucks.
With butter.
Yeah.
I'm so boring. The recipes were vague and incomplete, and Harry had no hope of making any of them because he didn't know what half of the spices were, and he could barely make his own pasta sauce. He'd layered them in protection spells and tucked them away. One day he'd learn. Harry put away the leftovers and looked over at Broomstick. The owl was watching the mantle. Why are they watching everything and not looking at things?
I don't know.
Oh, well, he could watch the mantle. The pictures do move.
True.
Okay.
They would be moving pictures.
Yep. Wizard pictures. Harry framed the pictures, and the owl hooted softly. You really like decorating, don't you? This hoot was sharper, and Harry left him alone. Broomstick was stellar at picking up on tones of voice. Harry read for a bit, and when he looked up, the owl was still watching the mantle. He'd heard somewhere, probably Hermione, that owl vision was extremely good at picking up motion. The little moving people were probably as good as a nice mouse. Harry watched the photos himself for a few minutes. Teddy blinked sleepily in his photo. It was a bit out of date for how fast the boy was growing. Harry wanted to get a photo with a bit more action, as his godchild was not fond of sitting. Harry mustered up the courage and flew to Andromeda before he overthought it. Hello, he waved awkwardly. Andromeda greeted in a whisper, and Harry realized Teddy was probably already asleep. Oh, sorry, I just noticed the time. I was wondering if you and Teddy wanted lunch tomorrow? I mean, come over and have lunch? Broomstick hooted in the background, and Harry blushed harder. It was a very judgmental owl he had taken in. Andromeda blinked and yawned, but nodded. Sure, we'll come over at 1, and then she was gone. The next morning, as Harry rifled through the fridge for jam to put on his toast, his eyes widened. He shut the fridge and leaned his head against it. I invited Teddy and Andromeda over for lunch. He looked in the fridge and nothing magically appeared. He briefly considered summoning Creature from Hogwarts, but instead resolved on egg salad sandwiches. It was not fancy, but then again, the guest of honor was going to throw half of it on the floor anyways, and Andromeda would be happy that he tried. Harry reassured himself morosely. Harry did like his egg salad. He put curry powder in it. He'd seen it on a cooking show, and while it made it feel a bit like he was effectively finding his heritage, it was delicious. Is he Indian in this story?
I think he's Indian in this story.
All right. It was delicious. And it wasn't like he wasn't desperately trying to connect with his family. He'd even tried a bottle of Fleamont's hair potion. However, the family hair seemed to have evolved faster than the product, and it was largely ineffective. Harry plated leftover chicken sang for Broomstick without really thinking about it. He felt he was getting rather too accustomed to the owl. It had been flying rather well that morning and still showed no signs of leaving. Still, that was a problem for after he ran to the store for bread, because that was a necessary part of sandwiches and he only had 2 slices left. Well, and seeing as you need to make at least 3 sandwiches, that's not going to work.
That's not enough bread.
No. Draco watched the clock impatiently. He didn't know why he was so nervous to see his aunt and cousin, considering they wouldn't even know it was him, but he supposed if they didn't like him as an owl, his chances as a human were about as high as Dumbledore letting Slytherin win the House Cup.
True.
So true. Interacting with Harry Potter, who didn't hate him, had rather spoiled Draco. He had nearly turned back into a human last night after Potter had gone to sleep, just to have his hands again and to see what color the curtains were.
Oh, Draco.
He could turn back before morning, but he hadn't. It felt like there was subtle magic in the house, and Draco didn't want to break the spell. At 1 exactly, a woman that looked frighteningly like Aunt Bellatrix stepped out of the fireplace. But before Draco could panic too much, she smiled and set down a bundle of excited toddler. The boy stumbled over to Potter, and Draco blinked as his hair seemed to darken and curl. Harry Potter smiled. "Hello there, Teddy," and picked him up. "That's a very nice hairdo if I do say so myself. I think you'll like what I've done with the furniture." Potter spun Teddy towards the sofa, and the boy squealed. His eyes widened, and Draco watched in confusion as his hair lightened again until it apparently matched the sofa. Draco fluttered his wings as he realized that the boy had inherited his mother's Megamorph Magus abilities. That meant he was mimicking Potter's hair when he first arrived. Draco really wanted to see with human eyes. Not that that was at all likely. Had caught his movement, and his hands went towards Draco. "Ow!" he screeched. Potter pulled him back. "He doesn't like people mussing his feathers." Draco hooted and hoped to convey that he didn't bite children. Just gits whose faces were far too pretty for their own good.
Oh, Draco.
Oh my goodness, Draco.
I really like how much of the story is in Draco's perspective.
I know, it's really fun. It didn't seem successful, though, as Potter led Teddy away and distracted him with sandwiches cut into flowers and triangles. Oh, that was sweet. Draco had a strange moment of jealousy. Oh, he thought Potter had only put too much effort into arranging mediocre food for him, or him as Broomstick. Draco flapped outside to sulk, but couldn't help listen in on the conversations in the little kitchen. Once the topics of how big Teddy had gotten and what new words he'd learned had been exhausted, the silences began to stretch longer. Draco cleaned his feathers aggressively. Really, Potter had no social skills. Also, he was probably making himself miserable about it. When Draco flapped into the kitchen, Potter's smile was indeed rather forced. Andromeda had thankfully been raised somewhat properly, and she latched onto the owl's entrance immediately. "I meant to ask you about your new owl, Harry. He is very beautiful." Broomstick preened, and Harry grinned. He knows it, too. Harry didn't even think to tell Andromeda that the agreement was temporary until after he'd finished the story about finding him. "He helped me redecorate," which I realize is a little suspect since owls are colorblind, but I think he did pretty well. Andromeda smiled. Draco suspected she thought Potter was joking. It was much brighter in here. The new curtains are lovely. It went unspoken that the old ones were quite hideous.
I mean, there were cherubs and what was either a rabbit or a deer.
Which is, if you can't tell them apart, goddamn. That must have been real bad.
Yeah. And I can only imagine that the background was like some hideous brown-orange kind of color.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And what kind of print has cherubs and rabbits or deers?
Yeah, that is a weird combination. Like, really weird combination.
It's so, like, I don't even know what was happening on these cards.
They were for sure absolutely hideous.
Yeah.
Also, why would Harry buy those?
I feel like they were probably in the house when he bought it.
And he was just like, all right.
Yeah, and it was just like, I did need curtains, and there are still curtains here, so that's what I have.
Great, I'm done. Well, Harry and Andromeda got up to try a few wallpaper spells. Teddy snuck unnoticed closer to Draco. The owl eyed him warily and held still. Harry looked over just as Teddy snuck a sticky hand into Broomstick's gleaming feathers. Harry yelped and rushed over, but Broomstick didn't bite the toddler, and like Harry worried he would. Harry put his hands on his hip. "Oh, so he can put egg salad on you, but I can't muss your few feathers out of place." The owl remained perfectly motionless as Teddy stroked him with too much force and not enough coordination, like a toddler does.
Yep, that's exactly what all toddlers do.
In fact, the owl seemed somewhat frozen in terror, so Harry extracted Teddy carefully. Broomstick eyed Harry reproachfully, as if he had withheld chicken rather than saving him from sticky fingers.
Why are toddlers always sticky?
I don't know.
Like, even if they don't have anything sticky, they're still sticky.
He then flapped onto the sofa and began cleaning his feathers. He's a good owl, Andromeda commented. Teddy would have deserved a bite if he had gotten one. Harry shook his head. He sure bit me. Andromeda smiled. Yes, well, you should have known better. And for a moment, Andromeda sat up straighter. Harry, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. And Harry joined her on the couch. Yeah? It might upset you. Harry clenched his fist and forced a smile. Well, you have to continue now. I've been thinking about getting in touch with my sister. Oh, Harry deflated. 1,000 horrible things had dashed through his mind, but that wouldn't be so bad, would it? He asked. Andromeda shook her head. No, it's just been very long, and I feel like I'm using Teddy as a bargaining chip. But, well, sometimes people are much better about children than they are about adults, and I think she'd like to meet Teddy. We've both lost family. Her eyes were distant. Harry took her hand. This was why it was hard to be around Andromeda. Her sadness was too much like his own. And maybe we could get some back. I've never met Draco, you know. Harry patted the back of her hand awkwardly. I think you should. Maybe just you and Narcissa first. But you can say it's because you'd like her to meet Teddy. It's not a bad thing to want him to have more people in his life, but it's also okay to want to see your sister again. If Harry had siblings, he thought he'd forgive them for anything. But then again, Bellatrix had been Andromeda's sister, so maybe it was more complicated than that.
It's because Bellatrix is horrible.
Absolutely horrible. And Harry, you did grow up with someone like a sibling just because he was horrible to you. You do technically still have family.
Yes.
Andromeda sniffed lightly, and Harry panicked. And Draco, well, Harry didn't know what Malfoy was. He's someone to get to know. He paused. I wouldn't mind getting to know him. Malfoy, that is, or Draco. Draco had no clue what that sentence meant, but he thought he liked the sound of it. He liked the sound of it very, very much.
Draco.
And that's the end of that little baby chapter.
The author's note at the end of this chapter said Hermione's not an idiot. All right. Anything else at the end of this chapter?
No, it's just a little baby chapter. I don't have any fun rants, any new rants that I could go on.
Me either. All right. Well, I think that's it then.
Yeah, we got 2 more chapters after this because it's a little baby story.
Yep. And then we'll come at you with some more one-shots and maybe sometime find you another chapter story.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
No promises on how fast that is.
Yeah, no promises at all.
All right, see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on our journey through the trap door.
Please leave us a review on Facebook or iTunes. It would literally mean the world to us.
It really would.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Through the Trapdoor 16 or on Twitter at The Trapdoor.
And please send us an email at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions. And as always, join us again next Saturday as we travel through the trapdoor.